see. Let's see if we are live on all the places. When to go live. Let's see here. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Sunday. Am I the only one that has their days mixed up because Monday's a holiday? So, hey, everybody. With Williams Immigration, and I run a boutique immigration law firm headquartered out of Florida. Every so often, I like to hop on, chat with y'all, answer some questions, see what y'all have going on. So I wanted to do that this evening for a little bit. And so I will answer some questions, see what y'all have. I will say I do not know processing times off the top of my head. I never do that. It's always a big question that I get. So I'm getting an echo. I don't know if y'all are getting that too, but so I wanted to make that clear. I don't actually know processing times off the top of my head. I always have to look them up. But if y'all have any questions that you have that are burning in your mind about immigration, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will certainly answer them. Tonight, I wanted to also mention that we are running a super quick special, which we have never done before. So I figured I would try it in honor of Labor Day. We are doing 20% off of our consultations. So you just have to click the link in the bio, click the link that specifically says Labor Day consultation, and those will be 20% off, and those will be on this upcoming Friday and Saturday. I have spoken with some people, and Saturday is just a really hard, Monday through Friday is a really hard time for them to take off work and whatnot and find some time to have a conversation with their consultation with me. So I decided I would open up a Saturday for y'all. So take advantage of that, because I generally do not do consultations on Saturday. So I am super excited to chat with y'all. We have some spots. We have a few spots left that can fill up. So if that is of interest to you, go ahead and click that link. And let me see. I know we've got a couple questions streaming in here. So let me look at those. Hold on one second. Y'all know our slow scroller, and feel free to hit share and send this to your friends. If you have a death in the family and you have a pending I-131, what can you do? I'm not quite sure you mean an I-131. That is a travel document. Maybe you do, but I'm not sure that you do. But your travel document really shouldn't depend on somebody alive. But if you have a death and you have an I-130 pending, which is a family-based application, that is a little bit of a different story. So depending on the type of I-130 that you have filed, you can substitute in a sponsor if you have had an unfortunate death in the family. So we would have to really kind of talk specifics about that and see, what your exact options are. But in general, you can swap out your sponsor, but it has to be someone that is eligible to be a sponsor. So I hope that is helpful, and I am very sorry that you have had a death in your family. That is never a good time. What else do we have here? Question one. Let's see here. Oh, and we are live on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube this evening. So if you have questions, just let me know. Awesome. Yes, we are offering consultations this upcoming Saturday, so thank you for that. It's DZ fam. Long time no see, long time no chat. I hope you are well. Yeah, so normally I do not offer consultations on Saturdays. Reason being because I'm a person too, and I have a little bit of a life, not a whole life, but I have a little bit of a life. So I do like to keep my weekends for me. But this time I am opening up my Saturday to have consultations with people because I do realize it is very hard sometimes to sneak away and feel like sneak away, sit in your car, go outside, around the corner, that kind of thing. Just to have an initial conversation to get your immigration case going. So this upcoming Saturday, if you click the link, you can schedule a consultation. We can absolutely chat via video, you and me, about your immigration case, your immigration questions, what you have going on. Um, what other questions do y'all have for me? Let me check over here. Uh, Sometimes YouTube gets pretty hopping, but I like to check. Look out over here for comments. Okay. All right, y'all. What questions do you have for me? Because I'm a late eater, so and every time I say this, y'all then hop in with questions. But if we don't have any more questions, then I will hop off and go have some dinner. But if you do have questions, I want to stick around for a little bit to make sure that we get your questions answered this evening. Scroll here. But if you are looking for a consultation, feel free to go ahead and schedule one. If you schedule it before Tuesday, it'll be 20% off, and it will take place either Friday or Saturday. We've opened up time on my calendar on Saturday to get in and get your cases started. Let's see what we have here. And I'm just scrolling them, see if we got some comments or some questions rather. I mean, we might have comments too, that's fine. I'm not for most things. And also, let me talk about this for 1 second. I recently got a phone call from someone who's looking to apply for U.S. citizenship. And really, the reason they want to apply for U.S. citizenship, they want to be able to vote, and they want to have access to jobs in the country that requires them to have U.S. citizenship. All fine, well, and good. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you should not be voting. If you are not a U.S. citizen and you indeed vote, you will essentially be telling the government and holding yourself out as a U.S. citizen. And so falsely holding yourself out as a U.S. citizen. So that is not a good thing. So if you are not a U.S. citizen, you should not be voting. So let me kind of run through a few things with that. If your U.S. citizenship application has been approved, but you haven't had your citizenship, you are not a U.S. citizen. You should not be registering to vote at that. If you have not filed your application for U.S. citizenship, you should not be voting. You should only be registering to vote after you have had your citizenship swearing in ceremony and you've been given your citizenship certificate. That's the only time you should be voting. That's the only time you should be applying for a U.S. passport. If you vote or register to vote prior to that, then the U.S. government can come in and say that you have held yourself out as a U.S. citizen falsely, and that is never a good thing. So you just want to make sure that, if you are going to renew your driver's license at any point while a green card holder, ignore the very well-meaning person at the desk that says, "Oh, you don't want to vote? You're out." Absolutely, you are not eligible to vote until you're a U.S. citizen, until you have a certificate in hand. So ignore the very well-meaning person at Department of Motor Vehicles and say, "No, thank you. I do not want to register to vote." If they're super pushy, take a picture of the application as that you give to them, that it very clearly shows that you have not checked that box. But by all means, do so if you are not a U.S. citizen. And so, again, if in between periods where you have been approved, but you are waiting for an oath ceremony date, you are not a U.S. citizen yet. You are not a U.S. citizen until you have taken that oath of citizenship and they give you your citizenship, your naturalization certificate, and your naturalization certificate right there, at the end of the oath ceremony. And it's at that point you can then register to vote, you can apply for a U.S. passport, you can do all the things. But I just want to make sure that that's super clear for folks, because I don't want people to get caught up in that unknowingly. So that was a call that I did last week, so I thought I would share that with you all. What other questions do y'all have? Can a parent who has a pending I-130, can they work? If it's just the I-130 and not the 485, no. So the I-130 doesn't give you work authorization. If you have filed the adjustment of status, and in conjunction with the adjustment of status, if you have filed for work authorization, and you have your work authorization document that has come in the mail, then absolutely, yes, you can work with that. But if you don't have separate work authorization, then no. So the I-130 itself does not give you work authorization. So just keep that in mind. So I hope that was helpful. And if you are in the U.S., then you want to see when you're eligible to file for the adjustment. So that's looking at the visa bulletin and figuring that out. If that is something that you need help with, again, you're more than welcome to schedule a consultation with me, and we can kind of look at that and strategize your case for you. What else do we have here? Hey, listen, y'all know I should be putting my glasses on. LT, you are quite welcome. Oh, look at the clarity when I put my glasses on. I'm a green card holder. I'm a green card holder. Filed for my husband. He is awaiting an interview 1 year now. Why so long? I don't know where he's awaiting an interview. I guess it sort of doesn't matter, but I know people are really tired of hearing this, and to a certain extent, I'm really tired of saying it, quite honestly. COVID created an incredible backlog. It just did, like getting an incredible backlog. In addition to that backlog, created another backlog was when on April 1 of this year, Immigration Service raised their fees. So we just rushed to file everything before April 1. So that was another onslaught of cases that came. So if you are waiting outside of, if your spouse, if your husband is waiting outside the U.S. for an interview at a consulate, depending on the consulate, a year doesn't particularly surprise me. If they are in the U.S., a year doesn't surprise me at all. So processing times are dependent upon the type of application filed and the location where your application is being processed. What office has your application? So, a lot of times we'll see cases being transferred from one office to another. That kind of freaks people out. Frankly, I love to see cases transferred. It means that someone has put their hands on your case and that they recognize that one office may have a complete backlog and they want to get it to an office that, that is processing cases a little bit more quickly, maybe because they don't have as many cases. But yeah, a year does not at all surprise me, unfortunately. And I know that that's not what anybody ever wants to hear, but in our world, a year is a long time in terms of living your life, right? Excuse me. But unfortunately, in the era that we live in right now, a year is sometimes not a long time for a case to be pending with the Immigration Service. there's that. So hopefully that's helpful. Um, let's see. How long was the process of an I-130 filed by a U.S. citizen son for parent who is out of status? Process for another. Okay, so um, I don't know processing times off the top of my head, to be very honest with you. I keep saying this. I need to do this. I need to do a video of how to show y'all how to find your processing times. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But so I don't honestly know. I don't know processing times off the top of my head. When I work with my clients, we look up my team and I we look up processing times and then we send them to them because processing times are fluid and they change. So I know like some overarching processing times, but those are typically for some of the more employment-based cases versus the family-based cases that I do because the family-based cases are all over the map in terms of category and whatnot. So I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know the processing time. But if you go to USCIS.gov, there are processing times, and you can uh, look at USCIS.gov and go. If you go to USCIS.gov and you scroll down, you'll see a section that says manager case, and then you can actually go to check your case status. If you go there, you can put in the actual receipt number, or you can go to check processing times. Check processing times, you'll need to put in the form number, the category, and the office, the field office or the service center that is processing your case. Check get processing time, and it will tell you what the average processing time is. I think for like 80% of the cases that they have. I mean, I can probably guarantee that you're not going to like the processing time, but I don't actually know what the processing times are off the top of my head. But that is sort of that is loosely how you find them. And maybe I'll do a video about that tomorrow. I'm going to try to remember to do a video about that tomorrow and get that posted so that y'all can see it. Because being able to find your processing times is really key. We try to affirmatively tell our clients, you know, what their cases are currently processing, give them periodic updates. But if you've got it on your own, that's kind of one of the things that people kind of freak out about is why is it taking so long with my processing time? What other questions do y'all have? And thank you guys for the hearts. I really do. I see them, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate the hearts. So thank you. TikTok always shows me super nice love. I appreciate that. What else? What other questions do y'all have for me? I don't see any over on. I don't see any over on YouTube. Seems to be a little quiet this evening, which is really good. What else do y'all have for me? And while y'all are thinking of your questions, because I know the second I say I'm going to go get dinner, y'all are going to have all the questions for me, which always cracks me up. If you would like an opportunity to talk over your case, work with the firm, all of my clients have always started working with me. It always starts with a consultation. There is no exception to that. Everybody starts with a consultation. It gives me an opportunity to hear from you what your case is all about, what your situation is, what's been going on, what have you been doing, what have you not been doing, what has the Immigration Service said to you, what have they sent to you if you've already filed something. And it's an opportunity for me to see what the government has sent to you by way of documents. Do you have a notice of intent to deny? Do you have a notice of intent to revoke? Do you have a request for further evidence? Do you have a transfer notice? Do you have any of these notices? It's really an opportunity for me to really kind of figure out what's happening in your case from the government's perspective, and for us to really have a conversation. And then that helps me strategize how we get you to your ultimate goal, whether that's becoming a U.S. citizen, having a green card, getting your spouse into the country, getting kids into the country, everybody living under one roof, getting a driver's license, getting evidence that you are in fact a U.S. citizen, probably one of my more fun cases recently was finding documentation that proved that he was actually a U.S. citizen. So after that, we got them their paperwork. They, they applied for their passport, and they have been traveling, y'all, internationally ever since. They have hit the road, which is fantastic. I'm super excited for them. But yeah, working with the firm, working with me, it all starts with a consultation. So you can go ahead and click that link. There is a special link that we have created that is for a Labor Day special that we're running. It's 20% off consultations, and the consultations will be held this upcoming Friday and Saturday. So not only are we doing them for 20% off, we're also doing them on Saturday. I usually do not do my consultations on Saturday because I have a teeny bit of a life, so I like to kind of wind down charge just like everybody else. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click that link, and we will chat one-on-one. What do we have here? Can an F1 student married to a United States citizen adjust status even after F1 termination? Oh, that is a loaded question, Yaya. And thank you for the question. The short answer is I don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on in that question. So, I would want to talk to you. I'd want to know, assuming it's you. So we'll just make the assumption that it's you. It may not be, but I would want to know. When was it terminated? Why was it terminated? Did y'all try for a reinstatement of the F1 student status? Did you have it terminated on purpose? Like I need to know all the backstory of that F1 to see if it makes sense, to see if it's a good strategy to try to adjust your status. So the short answer is I don't know. The sort of longer answer is that's something that we really have to talk about during a consultation to see, what happened. That's like a great question to ask. That's like sort of the perfect, like I can't just give you, yes, you can apply for that. Yes, I don't know. So we definitely want to, and it doesn't make sense with the fees just going up. It doesn't make sense to start filing adjustments. Given their expense, if we don't think it's going to be a good application where the immigration service will approve it. So that's definitely something we want to talk about. But in general, I will say this: in general, if someone is out of status, they cannot adjust their status in the U.S. Now, having said that, that kind of leads into another question that I just saw. Let me see if I can find it. But it kind of, that kind of leads into, generally speaking, if you are in the U.S. and you're out of status, you cannot then adjust your status to lawful permanent resident or green card holder while you're in the U.S. In some cases, you're going to need a waiver. You're going to have to go out of the country. You're going to have to then go process part of this application at a U.S. consulate overseas. So a notable exception to that is if you entered the U.S. lawfully, so you came in on a visa, visitor visa, student visa, H-1B, L-1, some sort of visa that you entered in on, right? And then you overstayed, and then you met, fell in love with, and married a U.S. citizen. If that is the case, then you can adjust your status when you have been out of status. The Biden administration added sort of another category to that, another policy that sort of leads into this other question, which is what are the chances PIP, parole in place, will continue after September 9. So the Biden administration came out end of July, somewhere, a couple months ago, and essentially said if you entered the country without status and are now married to a U.S. citizen and you've been living in the U.S. for 10 years, then you can apply for parole in place, and then you can start the process of getting your green card without having to leave the U.S. That is a very general look at how that program works. So we got the program instituted on August 19th. About a week later, lawsuit filed in federal court and down in Texas, and that judge basically put a pause on the program, I think for 14 or 15 days. So we're coming up against that timeline. And so the question is, what are the chances that people will continue after September 9th? I wish I knew, right? Um, I don't know. I haven't heard any rumblings about whether it will continue or not. What I can tell you currently is that applications can still be filed, so they can still be mailed in, but immigration cannot approve anything. So that's what the pause means. So we can file the applications, but as a practical matter, those applications will sit on a shelf. Immigration will receive them in, but they will sit on a shelf. Nobody will process them. They will not go to an adjudicator's desk because federal court has essentially said this program is on pause. So we will see what happens. I don't know. I do not have a crystal ball. I thoroughly wish I did. Because I would look up a lot of things if I had a crystal ball. Like I would look up a lot of things. But I don't have a crystal ball. So I'm sort of in the same position that you are in the sense that we are all waiting to see what happens with that. I do think federal court is going to see something fairly quickly, but again, fairly quickly in the legal system is very different than I think fairly quickly in the rest of the rest of the world that we think about. So we'll see. We will see what happens. So hopefully, we'll be able to continue to use that program because it will help thousands of people. But again, I don't know. Let's see here. My husband came here on a K1. I withdrew the adjustment of status. Is he able to stay in the U.S.? So there's one. There's a lot. I love y'all. Y'all have some awesome questions. So there's a lot to that question. Again, short answer is I don't know. I need a whole lot more facts. Like what happened, at what stage was the adjustment withdrawn. So it's not a, no, he can't stay here. I don't know. And honestly, I don't have his documents in front of me, right? So yes, you were saying that you withdrew the adjustment, but I don't know what his actual documents are saying. So really the question is, what do his documents say? And based on what his current documents say, then I'd be able to provide a better answer to that question. Let's see here. Oh my God, I love this username, the Transparent Mama. I love that. So the Transparent Mama's question is, can you become a citizen as a second-degree felon still waiting for a court date? Short answer is, again, I don't know. I know. I know that y'all hate lawyers that say I don't know, or the other one, it depends. But I don't know, right? And so here's why I don't know off the top of my head. But here and alive, whatever. Just because it's a second-degree felony charge, whether it's state or federal, I don't know because you didn't say, and that's totally fine. I don't know what that equates to in the immigration world. So a second-degree felony in Colorado, and a second-degree felony in California, and a second-degree felony in Florida, and a second-degree felony in Delaware could all have they're all written slightly differently, even if it's for the same set of facts, right? So when it comes to criminal charges, immigration attorneys and criminal attorneys work very, very closely together. And on the immigration side, we have to look at what does this crime, the way it is written in this particular law, and by this particular law, I mean California law, Colorado law, Delaware law, Florida law, what does this particular law mean when we look at it against the immigration rules? So I don't know, right? And so the fact that you're still waiting on a court date, I don't know which court date you're waiting on. Like, are you waiting on a court date to take a plea? Are you waiting on a sentencing date? Like, so that's again a whole big question. Um, that I don't know if you're going to be able to become a citizen, quite honestly. But I think the fact that you're asking is super, super important and really great. I would say it is imperative that if you have a criminal background or or you've ever been charged with a crime, you've ever had uh, interaction with police officers, and you are not a U.S. citizen, that you bring in an immigration attorney to your case, and have that immigration attorney do the criminal analysis that needs to be done for you. And oftentimes, some of my colleagues will advise you from an immigration perspective what taking certain plea deals mean for your case. So that is something that you definitely um, want to have a much more thorough conversation with someone in private, that is not on a live, that sort of thing. Because while I am an immigration attorney, I'm not your immigration attorney, so I can't tell you that you will or will not be able to become a U.S. citizen. But listen to this. Good luck with your court date. I hope everything goes good. Let's see here. Patrick is saying, I sent my marriage-based green card a month ago and still no receipt. Is that normal? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's normal. Unfortunately, it is normal. We have seen a delay since April 1 when the fees went up. We've seen a delay in getting receipt notices. Um, I'm filing an I-130 for my husband. If I have medical conditions, can that speed my case up? Completely depends on what the medical conditions are, depends on where you are, depends on where your spouse is. A whole lot of things factor into that. That is very fact intensive. In general, cases with the immigration service are processed first in, first out. So they generally do not like to have cases skipping the line. So, if you want to set up a consultation, we can talk about what's happening. We can talk about, whether or not it makes sense to request uh, an expedite from the government on the case. I don't know what the case is, right? I don't know what the medical condition is, but that's a very, very fact intensive question. What else do we have here? Um, let's see here. How many days to receive a green card? The application was submitted 1 year after the asylum approval. I have no idea. I do not know processing times off the top of my head. I would say you can always look at USCIS and see what the processing times are. If you go to USCIS.gov, you can look up the general processing times. Let's see here. What do we have here? Sorry. I think it automatically goes to the bottom, and then I gotta scroll back up. This is, or maybe I'm just not scrolling properly. I'm a 10-year green card hold. Should I wait to get my citizenship or should I file for my kids now? Is asked by Destiny. If you have had your green card for 10 years, year-wise, you're certainly eligible for a green card. So if you're certainly eligible for citizenship based on the number of years in which you've had your green card. So I sense there's something going on behind this question. Why would you sort of wait to get your citizenship and then file for your kids? Kind of depends on like where your kids are, what's happening, why you're waiting, that kind of thing. So I actually really love questions like this because there's a lot of strategy um, that's sort of already like scrolling through my mind behind this question. Um, and so several questions come to mind. But in general, in general, you can file for citizenship and at the same time file for your kids. Depending on how old your kids are, your category will automatically switch once you become a US citizen. So for some people, in some cases, I'm like, let's go ahead and get your citizenship application filed, and also let's go ahead and get the green card application for your kids filed, knowing that, the kids will, or, knowing that that application will switch potentially to an immediate relative application. But again, that depends on, how old the children are, where are the children, why, like what's kind of behind this. So can you? Yes. Should you? I have no idea. And that's kind of where the strategy comes into play. Um, so, I would want to know way more than I know from this question in order to say to you, here's what I think a good strategy in your particular case is. Um, U.S. Embassy cited no reason to reject my brother for Nairobi, Kenya. Needed a student visa. Can we sue the embassy in Nairobi? Um, so the embassy is always give a reason. You may not know what the reason is. You may not understand um, the code, the legal citation that they put in. But there's always a reason. Now, does the reason say we didn't like his answer to a specific question? No, it does not say that. They do not say that. They say very general reasons. Um, that's a that is a that is for sure a consultation question. So, but I'm sorry that he got rejected for the student visa. And again, I would need to know what was submitted. Did he have paperwork from the school? Because I do have folks that, reach out to me, and folks don't know what they don't know, and so they haven't filed an application that puts them in the best light, that helps them get approved. They haven't provided the correct documents. And so sometimes the immigration service and or the consulate is forced to deny a case because they don't, the proper process hasn't been followed. And I'm not saying that is your specific case. Um, but before I recommend somebody file a lawsuit, I want to make sure that they have sort of crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's before a lawsuit is filed. Let's see here. What else do we have? Can an applicant expedite his or her asylum based on an I-485 application that's been pending for 6 months? The Immigration Service they're very clear with, well, I shouldn't say they're very clear. The Immigration Service has provided guidelines. That's a better way to put it. They've provided guidelines on when they will consider something for expedite. Um, Generally speaking, the the amount of time that something has been pending is not a reason why they are going to expedite something. I would love for all of my clients to get their approval notices the 2 days after I file or within a week of filing, right? I would love that, but that's just not realistic. Um, just because your 45 application has been pending for 6 months, I don't know that that's going to be a reason for the Immigration Service to consider um, an expedite, quite honestly. So there's got to be a reason to have something expedited. and processing times without really, really specific circumstances and facts are just not going to be it. Everybody is waiting. The Immigration Service processes, by and large, first in, first out. In order to move someone to the front of what is a very long line for many, many people, they need to know why. They need to know why, and they need to really feel that this case needs to be taken off a shelf and specifically put in front of an officer to adjudicate. And so pending for 6 months is on its face probably not going to be a good reason why. Now, if there's certainly, if there's something more to that, then the Immigration Service may they may look at that, but that is completely up to them. What other questions do we have? What other questions do we have? These questions have been great, guys. You're very welcome for that response. Not a problem. Sam is asking if they request more evidence, do that push you to the back of the line? Not necessarily. No, it doesn't push you to the back of the line. When we get a request for additional evidence, we're given a certain amount of time with which to answer. Your case file stays active, right? So it doesn't go back into storage, like it stays active. So you respond to the request for additional evidence, it goes back in. Now, is that officer going to look at your case like the day that evidence comes back in? Probably not. Like, let's just be real here. Probably not. They're going to essentially clear that case, with your request for additional evidence before they have a whole new onslaught of cases that come to them. Is kind of generally how it works, right? Again, first in, first out. So it does not, an RFE stops your processing, but it doesn't move you to the back of the line. Like I always tell people, an RFE is not the end of the world. It means, frankly, that someone's actually looked at your case. And it is an opportunity. An RFE is an opportunity to present more information. An RFE is better than a denial notice, right? So, but it does not move you to the absolute back of the line where you shouldn't be waiting years to hear from the Immigration Service once you have responded to the request for additional evidence. Let me see here. Mrs. Easy is and I apologize if that's not being pronounced correctly, is asking, good evening, does a priority date or DQ date, which is documentarily qualified, date matter when the embassy is scheduling interviews? Absolutely it does. So the DQ date and the priority date are two very different dates. The priority date is the date in which the Immigration Service is processing cases. So if your case was filed January 1 of 2024, but the priority date is January 1 of 1995, anything before January 1 of 1995, then they're not processing any cases that were filed in 2024, right? Your documentarily qualified date is the date in which NVC has determined that you have submitted all of the additional information that they need to package your case and get it ready to be scheduled for an interview with the consulate. So your DQ date really depends on you, right? It depends on you giving, well, I shouldn't say totally, but a lot of the DQ date depends on when you send in the information. Now, I know there are times that NBC will come back and ask for all sorts of questions, and listen, I get it, right? But the DQ date is the day that they have decided and determined that they have all the information that they need in order to send your case to the consulate for it, for an officer in the consulate to handle your case and for you to be scheduled for an interview. If you are not documentarily qualified, then they're not going to send your case to the consulate, period, end of story. That does nobody any good, right? Um, so yes, it does matter. They are not going to schedule an interview until you are documentarily qualified and your priority date is current. So yes, those two dates do sort of work together. What would your advice be for a person who is married to a U.S. citizen but entered illegally? My advice is that they schedule consultation with our office so that we can have a conversation as to what's happening, what has happened, what's happened, what is their goal. That is another incredibly loaded question that is really going to be very highly dependent on the facts of the situation. So if they want to schedule a consultation, they can actually absolutely do that. We have a Labor Day special that the firm is running so that the consultations will be 20% off of what they normally are, and they will be held this Friday and this Saturday. Saturday is significant because I normally do not do consultations on Saturday. Um, so I would recommend that person do a consultation because they may be eligible for the parole in place. So we'll have to see what happens with the whole parole in place program and the federal lawsuit. But if they're not, there may be other avenues for them to start the process and get things moving and grooving on their immigration case. Sam, you are quite welcome. My pleasure. Should I appeal if my permanent residency got denied and my alien relative got approved the next day? I don't understand your question. I don't understand your question. I think there's a whole backstory to that. I don't understand your question. So if you can rephrase that would be helpful. Let me see here. Someone's asking, will it take longer than 6 months to get a 765 to get approved? It could. I don't know processing times off the top of my head when I go live. In my firm, we affirmatively look up processing times for each and every case, and then we give those to our clients. And that is in part because processing times change. So when we start a case, processing time could be 14 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 months, whatever, right? Whatever the current processing time is. But because processing times change, I don't know, so I don't really, that's not something I sort of hold in my head, to be honest with you. But yes, it could take more than 6 months to get your 765 approved. And your 765, for those who don't kind of speak form numbers, is employment authorization. If a U.S. citizen abused by a non-U.S. citizen husband, how to stop him to obtain the citizenship? I don't fully understand your question, but it sounds like you're trying to stop someone from getting their citizenship. I don't actually fully understand your question. Someone has asked if consultations are free. Consultations are not free. If you click the link in the bio, we're actually running a consult special in honor of Labor Day. And so they will be 20% off as long as they are booked by Tuesday. And then the consultation will take place this upcoming Friday or Saturday. I generally don't discount any of my fees. I don't run specials, nor do I do consultations normally on Saturdays. So we're doing this as a Labor Day thing. So if you would like a consultation, you are more than welcome to schedule one. If you are available Friday and Saturday, then you can get it for 20% off. Let's see. Let's see, what do we have? Oh, thank you for the roses. I appreciate that, you guys. Let's see. Ooh, let's see here. My I-45, so your adjustment of status got denied because my I-130 wasn't already approved, but it got approved the next day. Should I appeal or reopen my case? That is something that, from a strategy perspective, I would talk about during a consultation. Yeah, like I don't know how long ago the denial was. I don't know what happened. I don't know the order of things that were filed. So that is something that if you want to talk about, we can certainly talk about during consultation. But if we're talking about appealing or reopening a case, um, there are certain timelines with which we can do that, which we can file those applications to reopen or appeal. I would book a consultation and we can have a much more in-depth conversation about that. So hopefully that's helpful. Because sometimes it doesn't, depending on the facts, sometimes doing an appeal or filing to reopen doesn't really get us what we would want. So sometimes while it is an option, it's maybe not your best option. So again, I'd have to really kind of sit down and talk with you about that. All right, y'all. I don't see any more questions. Let me check over here real quick. Yeah, I don't see any more questions, so we will call it an evening. Again, we are running a Labor Day consult special, so you can go and click the link and get yours scheduled. That link will tell you, if you click on the Labor Day link, you will be able to schedule a reduced fee consult and pay for the consult at the same time on that link. So it has all the information you need, and you can schedule for this upcoming Friday or Saturday. It's a great time to do a consult, quite honestly, because I normally don't do consults on Saturdays. And so if you want to talk more about your case, that would be a time to do it. So this has been fun, y'all. I always love coming on and talking to you. So again, I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, boutique immigration law firm and former USCIS Adjudications Officer up at headquarters in Washington, D.C. So I always look at cases through that agency lens, which is always helpful. So I've loved your questions. I always do. You guys are so fun to hang out with. I will be live again tomorrow. So I will see some of you tomorrow. And then we shall chat further. But if you're interested in having a consultation Friday or Saturday, go and click that link and we will chat more. All right, y'all. I will chat with you again tomorrow. Bye.